Welcome to the Wolfram Language in Section 23 of Fast Introduction for Programmers. This section is about putting your programs and results in the cloud, mostly using a function called cloud deploy. As a simple example, here is an input that displays the word hello at size 100. And this uses the cloud deploy function to create a web page with that image in the Wolfram Cloud. The output is a URL, or Universal Resource Locator, which gives a link that you can click or enter into a web browser. Depending on how your computer is set up, clicking on that link will typically display the web page in your default web browser. You can also deploy programs, including a program like this one with an interactive interface. This program has a slider for controlling the angle of rotation of the text. Now enter that program as the argument in Cloud Deploy. And the result is again a URL, and clicking that URL brings up a web page with that same interactive program now running in the cloud. You can also deploy programs where the interface is a form for entering input. For example, this uses Cloud Deploy and a function called Form function to create a web page with an input area into which the user of the web page can enter the name of a city. Clicking on that link brings up the web page, and after the web page comes up, you can enter the name of a city and submit the page, and the result is a map of that city. The first argument in form function specifies the name and the type of each field in the form, the second argument says what to do when the form is submitted, and the third argument gives the format to return. The fields in a form are handled by the interpreter function, so the type can be any valid interpreter type. Valid interpreter types are given in the value of the variable $interpreter types. For example, this shows a form with a field of type location and another field of type quantity. Semantically interpreted types lead to smart fields, which interpret natural language. Smart fields are identified in the web page by the spiky icon at the right end of the field. Hovering your mouse pointer over that icon gives information about that field. Submitting this particular page gives a map of a disk with the size and location that were entered in the form. You can also deploy programs with an API, an application program interface, so that the programs can be called from other programs through the cloud. Here's an example that deploys an API for a program that calculates the factorial of a number. The permissions option set to public is included here to make the cloud deployment available publicly to anyone. The result is a URL that can be used to call that program. For example, this shows a web browser with that URL followed by $x = 99 to give a value for the variable x, which runs that program in the cloud through the API, and the result is the factorial of that number. You can find more information about deploying programs in the cloud by selecting Wolfram Documentation under the Help menu to bring up the Documentation Center page, clicking on the Cloud and Deployment button, and selecting any of the items from the menu that comes up. Selecting Cloud Functions brings up a page with links to information about all of the functions from this section.